A teacher who was a mother of two vanished while on vacation, and the question was what really happened inside of that hotel bar that night when so many stories were being told. You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke Makenna, and I would love, if you love my videos, to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And if you never want to miss an upload, go ahead and sign up to the Genuine Gem newsletter so I can personally send you my videos as well as true crime updates. But first, a quick mention of our sponsor, Kitsch, who allows me to continue creating these videos. Now, I first heard about Kitsch with their heatless curlers, and I have loved their brand ever since. Kitsch is a female-owned global accessory brand at attainable price points for all hairstyles and textures. What I have found as a cosmetologist is that beneficial hair care products do not have to be at a high price point. In fact, Kitsch's shampoo and conditioner bars are only $11 each with my discount code. I have still been using the rice water protein bars. They lather up better than some liquid products I've tried, and because of the rice water, it actually helps to balance the scalp and strengthen the hair while promoting hair growth. I was skeptical at first because I love a big lather and I need a really deep, clean feeling, but these bars did all of that and then some. I've literally used them so much that they're almost gone, and I will definitely be getting more. So each bar is $11 with my code Brooke, or under $21 for both the shampoo and the conditioner set. They ship in the US and internationally to over 90 countries, and they have a subscription offer as well for a better discount. So use my link in the description or my code Brooke to get 25% off your order, which will be auto-applied at checkout. Now let's get back to the story. So it was 2014, and Emily Lambert was a 30-year-old teacher living in Garland, Texas. She worked at O. Henry Elementary School as a first-year instructor to third graders teaching math and science. She also had two young daughters of her own. She was known to be extremely loving and nurturing. Even the ex-husband and the father of her daughters, Donovan Lambert, thought that she was one of a kind. There was no one else in the world like Emily, and they still got along very well. Now, they had fallen in love and had these two kids, but after Emily's brother Daniel had actually passed in a car accident, everything kind of changed for Emily, and so in December of 2013, Donovan and Emily did decide to get a divorce. But this wasn't one of the horrible divorces you hear about. Emily was said to make everything into a positive in her life. She had a nickname of Lucky because luck just happened to fall upon her all the time. So her and Donovan actually made the move across the street from each other so their children could still be in close contact with both of their parents. They were actually still really good friends, and she spoke on social media about how grateful she was to have him as the father of their children. So in 2014, Emily started dating a new man, and this began with a 33-year-old divorced father of a little girl. His name was Robert Early. They had actually gone to high school together, but due to the age difference, they didn't know each other in school. They would both find each other on Facebook. They would talk a while, but it was when they met up at a bonfire that they were said to really connect, and they were inseparable after this. Robert met Emily's parents, and Emily even introduced Robert to her ex Donovan because they were still that close. Donovan would say that Robert was always very genuine, very cordial, happy and friendly, and he was okay with him. But on February 28th of 2014, Emily decided to take a vacation during her spring break at work. She wanted to visit Carlsbad, New Mexico. This had a lot to do with the fact that her new boyfriend of 4 months, Robert, had gotten a job as an oil driller there. It had been 2 weeks since he left. She was missing him dearly, so she decided to go see him for the weekend, and her daughters were staying at her parents' house, so they were safe and sound. So she started the drive to Carlsbad, which was about an 8-hour drive. However, on Sunday morning, 2 days later, her mother, Donna, would receive a chilling text from Robert telling her to call him. He would inform her that Emily was missing. He said that they had gone to the bar that Saturday night. They were having a really good time. Then they got into a little tiff and Emily stormed off. He didn't know where she had gone, but she had not returned to the hotel that they were staying in together that next morning. He said that Emily's phone was still at the hotel room and her car was in the parking lot. When asked if he had called the police by Emily's parents, he said that he hadn't. And Emily's parents immediately told him to contact the authorities. Donna knew that her daughter wouldn't have left on her own accord. She loved her life, her job, and especially her girls. So at noon on Sunday, March 2nd, a 911 call would be made to the Carlsbad Police Department. Robert told the police that his girlfriend had left the Stevens bar and hadn't made it back to the hotel, which it was connected to.
Carlsbad 911, what is your emergency?
Yes, my girlfriend left last night, and she hasn't made it back to the hotel.
What is your name?
It's Robert Early. I've been pacing since 5:30 this morning.
Okay.
Just because she was pretty intoxicated, and
okay.
she has some insecurities. And
okay, what is her name?
Emily Lambert. I didn't know, maybe she got picked up for PI. Maybe she walked down the road. She was in a really cute dress and some high heels, and I had her ID, and her phone was in the room on the charger. We took my phone.
Okay, what color dress?
It was like white and black, with black high heels, with little bitty silver balls, I think, on the bottom of the heel. And her purse is in the car. I mean, she don't have anything with her. I've driven up and down the street to look to see if she was walking down the road or something. And I haven't seen her. And I've talked to her parents, to her ex-husband. Nobody's heard from her, and she was pretty intoxicated.
And where are you at?
The Stevens Inn.
Let me go ahead and have an officer come see you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So the Carlsbad Police Department, who didn't receive many calls for missing people, they immediately jumped on this case as soon as the call came in. Detective Robert Scott Naylor and Sergeant Blaine Rennie arrived at the Stevens Inn, where Emily and Robert were staying for the weekend and where Robert was staying while he worked in New Mexico. Robert would tell them that day before, on Saturday, they had gone out sightseeing together. They went to a couple of restaurants. They then went back to the hotel and then to the hotel's bar, which was the Blue Cactus Bar, around 9:15 p.m. He said they were playing pool together and Emily was getting a lot of attention. Robert said that Emily got upset while he went to play pool with another guy and wasn't giving her attention, so she started flirting with another guy at the bar. He said they got into a bit of a fight, and Robert told detectives that Emily had come up to him and told him that another man was interested in her and wanted to take her home. Robert said that he told her if she wanted to go, she could go, and he said that was the last time that he saw Emily. Robert said when he was done at the bar and went back to the hotel room, he figured that Emily would come back soon. He fell asleep, but when he woke up, she still wasn't there. So detectives asked for consent to search his vehicle that was parked at the oil rig where he worked, which was about 30 miles from the hotel. He consented to this, he gave them a key, and detectives found that at the Stevens Inn, there was no exterior cameras on the building. However, there was a camera recording in the lobby where the receptionist desk was, as well as at the bar. So when Carlsbad Police Department obtained this footage, they found that the cameras that showed the entrance as well as the exit to this bar had been rolling that night. So they would see that at 11:30 p.m., Emily would exit the bar. She was described as walking very briskly, but she was alone. Detectives believe that her body language showed that she was a bit upset. They also noticed that in the footage outside of the bar that there was a man in a cowboy hat who appeared to be watching her walk by. They were watching him to see if he had followed after Emily. However, instead, 4 minutes later, they would see Robert walking out of the bar with a group of guys before going right back inside the door where he could still be seen, but he was obviously waiting inside. He appeared to be waiting for someone, but he walked out after a few minutes and smoked a cigarette with the other guys, getting a light from the cowboy. In 5 minutes in total since Emily had left, Robert also left alone. Now, since there were no cameras on the outside of the hotel, the detectives had no way to verify where Emily and Robert had gone next. So they began to search the area, talking to those that had stayed in the hotel to see if they had heard or seen anything. And a neighboring guest of their room at the hotel would actually tell police that they had heard a commotion on Saturday night coming from the direction of their room. It appeared to be a fight between a male and a female. So the question was, did Emily make it back to the hotel that night? And if so, where had she gone from there? Carlsbad detectives searched the room for any evidence, as well as Robert's vehicle, and Emily's parents had driven down to New Mexico to meet with the Carlsbad police. They had also brought her daughters, which they were watching, and the daughters had looked at the detectives and asked if they were going to find their lost mommy. One of the detectives did promise to bring her back home. Meanwhile, back home, her best friend was setting up a Finding Emily Facebook page and trying to spread the word through social media. Robert Early was then asked to come down to the police department for a formal interview, and Robert would say that they had actually gone to Rue 21 that Saturday, which was a clothing store, to find Emily a dress. They then went back to the hotel, and then they went to the Trinity's restaurant together. They went back to the hotel after that to pregame a bit more, and then walked over to Steven's bar. He said they were playing pool, and Emily won the first time, but he noted that every time she would go to the bathroom, she was getting hit on. But he also said that he was very used to that she would always get hit on. He elaborated on what Emily had actually told him before she left the bar, saying that the guy over there said, if you don't treat me right, he's going to take me home. Robert said this hurt his feelings, and that he spoke to her about it. He said Emily kept telling him things like this, and that's when he finally told her that she could go and do whatever she wanted, and she left. But when asked about what changed throughout the day between them having a good day to having this fight at the bar, he said it was the alcohol, that she was trying to make him jealous, and that the last words to him at the bar were, F you, I'm leaving.
She was like, this guy over here said if you don't want to take care of me, or you don't take care of me right, he'll take me home. And I was like, it really kind of hurt my feelings after the whole day and everything. And I tried to have a speech with her, letting her know, we're going to a roughneck bar. We're going to an oil field town. This isn't Fort Worth. It's different place, different kind of people. You're going to get hit on a lot. Most of these guys either single, wives at home, or they've been out here a long time, they're horny, and, you're a good-looking girl.
So did it make you mad?
I mean, I was playing pool, really. I really didn't think too much on it. And then when she said it the second or the third time she came back from the bathroom, I was like, if that's what you want, Emily, you want to go off with some stranger that you don't even know, go ahead. I was like, nobody said that you had to be with me.
What changed throughout the day?
I think the alcohol. I mean, it just...
For you or for her?
For her. I mean, she just all of a sudden just was trying to make me jealous. And talking about other guys talking to her and hitting on her. And I didn't...
playing pool with you and...
She did play a couple games. I forgot about that because I had to stand behind her because her dress was so revealing. I had to stand behind her to keep from showing her panties. And we danced. Emily likes to get hit on. She likes attention. She loves it. After she left the bar, I did not see her again. I still have not seen her. So I've been telling everybody. I don't know. I'm really starting to be getting worried. I think she got in the car with the wrong person and either in a bad situation somewhere or she's still with the wrong person. I don't know. I think she met somebody at the bar and left with them, and I have no clue what happened from there.
Robert said that he had gone back to the hotel. He saw she wasn't there. He then went back to the bar to tell his boss, who they were drinking with at the bar, that she was gone. And then he went back to the room to find he had locked himself out, so he had to go back down to reception to get another key. The hotel staff allegedly told him they would only give him another key if he promised to stop slamming the door. Then on the way back, Robert admitted to kicking Emily's car in the parking lot, which he had to go through to get to the room. He believed that Emily had really gone with another man. He said that he drove around for a while looking for her before he realized he could get a DUI, so he went back to the hotel. He then fell asleep, and as soon as he woke up, he said he called his mom, and then he reached out to Donovan on her cell phone to see if he knew any of this behavior and that if it was normal for her to disappear, and allegedly Donovan said it was. That's when Emily's parents started to call her phone that she had left in the hotel room, and that's when Robert would text her mom on his phone to call him. He said that he called his ex-wife after this, sobbing. He believed that his new girlfriend was with another man, and he'd actually gone out to the oil rig to work that day, but his coworkers saw his condition and said that he needed to stay in the hotel and wait for his girl. Robert was given a polygraph test by detectives focused on if he knew the location of Emily, and out of the 3 tests, he failed all of them.
Do you know the location of Emily Lambert today?
No.
and you didn't pass.
How? I was nervous and I haven't slept.
Emily Lambert was still missing, and Robert was interviewed once again by a different detective at the same time. And the detective told him that there was evidence against him, that this was the one chance for him to tell them everything, so he didn't look like a monster when the truth came out. Of course, he was saying that he wasn't a monster. After some pushing, Robert told them that he should have been honest about everything from the start, that he had actually followed Emily to the room from the bar. They had gotten into a drunken argument, and this was because she wanted to go back home and drive home to Texas while she was intoxicated. So he said that after they verbally fought, she stormed out of the room, and he then watched her get into her car in the parking lot and saw a whitish truck pull up next to her. Emily was said to get in the passenger seat of that car, and they drove away. He said this was a four-wheel drive white truck, and the driver was a big guy with a cowboy hat and a goatee.
Hands down, there's enough evidence here.
What evidence do you have against me?
Why would I tell you that right now? Like I told you before, dude, I don't think you're a bad guy. At all. I really don't. I kind of like you. You're actually a likable person.
A lot of people do.
I think the alcohol has played a big part in all this.
Locked myself out of the room, ran back to get in the car and go. That's why I just pulled out and went the way that I seen them pull out of the Stevens.
You knew she wasn't a vehicle?
I know she wasn't in a vehicle.
What was the vehicle?
It was a thing. It had monster tires with rock star wheels on it, white, extended cab truck.
So you're saying you know he left, or she left with someone?
I know she left with someone.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why haven't you brought anything up like this before?
Yeah, I figured she'd be back. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette.
Robert said he followed the truck with his car while he was drunk. He followed it about 11 miles to the countryside. He then said that he and the cowboy got into an argument, and the cowboy got out a pipe to go after them. However, Robert said that Emily jumped in front of him and was actually hit in the head by this pipe. He said that there was blood and her mouth was swollen. Robert said that the cowboy started yelling at him, coming at him, and went back to his truck, and Robert believed that he was going to get some sort of other weapon, so he ended up speeding away in his car. He said that he thought that they would find that guy, so he didn't say anything.
I see her sitting in her car and another dude pull up. I get pissed off. I was like, "You gonna leave with him?" So I busted off the mirror. And then I kicked the side of her door and yanked the handle off. And dude pulls up. Emily jumps out and gets in his ride. He pulls up into some sort of looking like housing little area or something, like a house or something. I know where it's at.
Okay.
Because, I drove by it on the way to the rig when I went last night, and I was looking I was like, well, I don't see any lights or any cops, obviously she made it out of there, But when I pulled in that night, they had already pulled in and behind and then to the back. And by the time I get out, Emily barely had any clothes on, and I pull up, we start, beefing, and he comes running at me with a pipe, and she jumps in front,
Where'd he hit her?
right in the head. And I was like, "God," and he comes at me. I just got in the car and just burned out, What am I going to do now? I should have called the police right away.
Was he Hispanic?
Oh, no, it was like a big cowboy, white guy, cowboy hat. And I left her there, and that's it's been eating at me because I didn't know what to say. I don't know what,
Did you cause that?
My criminal background,
Who gives a shit?
That doesn't matter.
I'm on bond probation. I was drunk. I figured she'd come up and wound up in the hospital the next couple of days or something.
He said that he was worried that everyone would be mad at him now. He was taken back to the hotel, but the officers were conducting surveillance of his room overnight. Hearing this, investigators immediately remembered the cowboy that they had seen in the footage at the bar who watched Emily leave. Now, they hadn't seen him leave shortly thereafter, but this is the man who matched the description of what Robert was giving. But they also weren't certain that his story had any validity to it. But on March 4th, Robert then agreed to bring investigators to the location of the alleged attack between him and this cowboy and Emily. So the detectives left him in the car and they went to search the area. They had been directed to a ranch in Loving, New Mexico, which was about 20 minutes away from Carlsbad. This was an abandoned, old, dilapidated residence, you could call it, but there was no one living there. And that is when they spotted a woman's wristwatch, a rope, and a bag. Then they found drag marks on the ground that led them around a building to find a body. There was a lot of blood, and they immediately knew that this was Emily due to her tattoos. Emily Lambert was lying face down on the ground. She was only wearing a bra discarded in a field. And crime scene investigators arrived at the scene and found possible ligature marks on her neck. It was believed that she had been dragged to her death. Her head and her face were swollen, and detectives said she was discarded like trash. 5 minutes from where Emily was found, a surveillance camera was found to be facing the highway that you would take to get to this area. The Walmart that was in charge of that footage had kept 24/7 records, so detectives were able to watch the footage from the night of the murder, and at 12:12 a.m., 30 minutes after Emily had left the bar, a white truck was seen pulling into the gas station near the highway. Now, the footage was too far away and grainy to be able to gather any information like the license plate or who was inside of the truck. So with the new evidence possibly corroborating Robert's story, they went back to the surveillance footage of the bar. However, this time they looked at the footage that they had from inside of the bar. And although the footage was not great quality, they did see a man approach Emily at the bar when Robert had left her there alone for some time. With little hope, they enhanced the photo of this man from the footage to ask the bar staff about him. At the same time, Emily's autopsy was being done, where they found that her cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. She had extensive scrapes, bruising, and tears, and there was evidence that she had been dragged 500 feet behind a car by a noose. It was said that she was alive when that pressure was applied to her neck. So detectives then went to the Stevens Inn bar and hotel, and they began showing this grainy photo of this man around. One employee believed he knew the man, and he was a guest, so they ended up giving police his ID that was required for check-in. They learned that this man's name was Gabriel Hamey. This turned out to be Robert's boss, who was out drinking with them that night. He often was at the bar, regardless of if Robert was there or not. But Gabriel was then questioned and told the police that he was in that bar until after midnight, long after Emily had left. So investigators went back to the hotel to corroborate this story, and the staff confirmed that this was true. So investigators now believe that Gabriel wasn't the man in the white truck, and their only other suspect was the man in the cowboy hat. So as they combed through footage at this hotel looking for the cowboy, they were not seeing anybody with a cowboy hat or a goatee. However, they did see Robert inside the hotel. Robert was at the reception desk, but there were 3 guys who were there with him as well. He ended up walking away, and you could see those 3 guys kind of turn to look at him outside as though he was causing some sort of scene. It was unknown what this was, but he would come back into the receptionist's desk, and he was taking a phone call. He then went to the bar and quickly went back to the reception desk looking at his phone. He was then given a key by the receptionist and left abruptly. But during this time was when Robert said he was already back in the hotel room with Emily having that argument before she stormed off. So this was not making sense. And due to this inconsistency, investigators knew they needed to look into him further. So after finding the body, they went back to tell Robert that they had found Emily. And his behavior was said to be abnormal for an innocent person. He was just sitting there smoking a cigarette like it did not bother him. The next day, Robert actually agreed to go back to the crime scene to help them find a few bits of evidence that he could not find the previous day. He was able to find an air pump that was allegedly used on Emily. Now, with very little evidence to go on, the police obtained Emily and Robert's phones, and that is when they found a voicemail left on Emily's phone by Robert from that night. He was angry. The audio appeared to be muffled. It was hard to understand what was going on. And that's when investigators heard Emily screaming, "Never, never, never again. Get away from me. Go away." Robert then says, just be calm. There was an obvious fight happening, and detectives believed that Robert's phone was in his pocket as he attacked Emily, and he had no idea that it was recording on this voicemail. So at this point, that is when Robert Early was being interrogated as their prime suspect. And on a smoke break outside with a detective, Robert told him a few more details. Thankfully, the detective had a recorder in his pocket because Robert had mentioned kicking Emily with a steel boot, which he had never mentioned before. So they brought him back into the interrogation room to get his official statement. And this time, Robert would focus on the fact that Emily was trying to make him jealous at the bar, that he left shortly after her and found her in the hotel room, but it was locked. Emily had locked herself inside and wouldn't let him in. That's why he had to go and get another key. He hadn't locked himself out. So when he got inside, she was packing, she wanted to leave. They started fighting, and she allegedly pushed him hard enough that he hit his head on the wall. She also was said to bite him, so he ended up hitting her and kicking her a couple of times in the mouth and said that he lost it. He said that her breaths were weird after this.
She started going crazy with me, and we started, pushing around, and that's when she grabbed my arm and bit the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. And then swept me back, and I put my head against the wall. And that's when I got up and hit her. And then, I had already ripped off her mirror, her handle, and she didn't want to get out, and I kicked the side of her car, and we got back to the room, and we scoped around, I hit her, and then I kicked her. A couple times, I just lost it.
Where did you kick her the first time?
I think in the mouth.
Okay.
Because I hit her in the side and kicked her in the mouth.
Okay.
She was still okay. She got up. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? I was pretty shocked. And came at me again. And I started freaking out. I'm like, oh, and she was just laying there, like, breathing down, like, a weird breath. And I was
like she was knocked out?
Yeah, and I didn't know what to do. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm blind, oh my God.
Robert then confessed that he got Emily into his car and took her to the ranch. She woke up and he grabbed the air pump and he began to hit her with it. Robert said he took her body, unconscious but still alive, tied a rope around her neck, stuck the rope in the back passenger door, and then drove her, dragging her 500 miles down the rocky road, which is about the length of a football field. He then drug her himself back behind a barn on the property. He said he hit her with the air pump because he didn't want her lying there in pain all night. He knew it was going to be cold the next morning. He said he threw the bar off the side of the road and went back to the hotel, but early in the morning he woke up, he freaked out, he drove back to where he left her body, and he said he found her not breathing. So he said he started covering up what he had done. He threw away his bloody pants. He said he was going to act like there was another guy involved. And he said it wasn't something he would have done if he was sober. He said he was sorry to her parents and her kids.
And I put her in the car and drove out there. And then we scoped again behind that guy's house. She came to, and then as she was coming at me, I grabbed that freaking air pump I grabbed that and whacked her with it, and I whacked her with it a couple times. I remember hitting her a couple more times and then leaving. I grabbed her with something.
What did you grab her with?
Rope.
A rope? Did you try to run her neck?
It was just a quick, like a slip, and then just threw it around the passenger door and shut the door. I was freaked out. It was like this. I wouldn't even. Probably wouldn't even back there for a whole total of 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm.
But in another interview, Robert would say that Emily never regained consciousness when they got to the ranch, and he kept hitting her anyway. Robert Early was then arrested for murder and charged with murder as well as tampering with evidence. He was being held on a $1 million bond. He called his mom in jail, and that's when Robert told her he didn't know what else to do after the fight. And she said, "You didn't know what else to do besides kill her?" He told her he didn't want to kill Emily, that he loved her, but she bit him and threw him against a wall, and he got angry. His mother then said he always had trouble controlling his emotions when he got hot-headed, but he told her he was hoping that it would be classified as a crime of passion. In 2015, Robert Early was going to trial for first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and kidnapping. Prosecutors were seeking life without parole. 33-year-old Robert pleaded not guilty, and the voicemail that was accidentally recorded by Robert to Emily, where Emily was yelling at him before her murder, was played to the court for the first time, and her parents had to hear this for the first time. Now, employees of the clothing store where they had gone that Saturday testified that Robert and Emily had bought clothes that Saturday, and those same clothes were found to be on the side of the road, bloodied, with the air pump that was said to be part of the murder. The security at the hotel bar testified that Emily had actually asked them for help the night of her murder, saying that her boyfriend had too much to drink and was angry. Robert had been banned from the bar that night. The defense argued that due to his intoxication, he was not unable to form intent to murder Emily, and that it should be second-degree murder, not first. After 3 weeks of trial and a few hours of deliberation, on May 15, 2015, Robert Early is found guilty of first-degree murder. The jury found that the aggravated circumstance, kidnapping, was applicable in this case, and this meant that he could be sentenced to life in prison in New Mexico. At the sentencing hearing, Robert actually apologized to Emily's family, saying the guilt and pain I've had since that night has been a living nightmare. He asked them to forgive him, but also said he knows that they probably can't. He said he would trade places with Emily if he could. He appealed his conviction, claiming that the court was wrong in allowing the graphic crime scene photos to be displayed, as well as denying his request for continuance and allowing some statements he made to be used against him. This was denied by the Supreme Court, and he remains at the Lee County Correctional Facility in Hobbs, New Mexico. Emily's family and friends decided to get Lucky 23 tattoos of Emily's nickname and her favorite number. Her family turned that Finding Emily Facebook page into a page of remembrance for her, and they actually post about the girls, Emily's daughters, and how they are growing up. They are teenagers now, both in high school, and they're being raised by Emily's parents. 2 daughters who shouldn't have had to have grown up without their mother. Emily's parents have now lost both of their children. But do you believe this happened due to intoxication? Does Robert really have remorse? Why drag her by her neck with a vehicle? That screams overkill. And the voicemail is chilling and shows how terrified Emily truly was. She may have gotten into this argument with Robert at first, but I believe that there came a point where she had no control of the situation and her boyfriend was going crazy on her. Could the motive have simply been jealousy from the bar that night? Did he hate seeing how she was getting hit on? Is that what really started the fight? Did he believe he was going to get away with it? How horrifying that he made up this story with the white truck, the cowboy guy, and this took up so much time in the investigation trying to find them. But also, how strange was it that there was a cowboy at the bar that night? Did Robert see him and decide to frame him, or was that a coincidence? Robert later told investigators that he lied about the white truck because there were so many in the area, but what are the odds of one of them pulling up in the exact area at the exact time of the kidnapping and the murder? Coincidence, or was someone else involved? Because investigators ended up saying that neither the cowboy nor the white truck had anything to do with the real timeline of events. And how she was murdered is disgusting. It's overkill. And it shows a very, very angry and disturbed person who could do that to somebody, especially if it's their girlfriend. So what do you think really happened at the bar that night, at the hotel room, and out at that ranch? I am just hoping that her daughters are living a happy, peaceful life and that they get to celebrate their mom as often as they want. I watched a documentary where it showed that the detectives of the Carlsbad Police Department actually put on like a little party for the girls in remembrance of Emily, because they felt so bad that they had told them that they could find their lost mother, and she in fact was found, but couldn't come back home to them. So they wanted the girls to have a positive memory, and then they actually put together this party for them, which I thought was so beautiful. And I'm just sending them and Emily's parents so much love. If you don't know, I'm trying to upload 2 videos a week, so if you haven't watched the surprise Wednesday upload, I will have that linked down below. It's a crazy case of a woman who was being stalked by her ex-boyfriend. Then she was found murdered, but it turned out that maybe it wasn't her ex-boyfriend that was actually doing the stalking. Maybe it was someone even closer to her. I will have that linked down below. It's insane. And make sure you are subscribed and signed up for the Genuine Gem newsletter. And I love, love, love replying to your comments. So anything you want to say about this case or about future cases you want me to do, let me know. Leave me a comment so I can respond to you. And don't forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough. And I love you to absolute pieces. Okay.